Alright, so when we left off with our last video, we were talking about color and lighting. We're going to get to our last two techniques now. So focus is another way that photographers can help impart some meaning into their artwork. So photographers can guide your eye to certain aspects of an image by using different focusing techniques, basically looking at what is something that's in focus and what is something that's not in focus, something that's blurry. So usually the thing that's blurry is something that's considered non-important to the photograph, and something that is crisp and clear is implied that it is supposed to be one of the most important aspects of the photograph. So showing emphasis of whatever is crisp and clear. So here's an example here. What is the most important part of this picture? Well, you can see that the background is blurred out. Even my husband's suit is blurred out. The thing that is crisp and in focus are our hands and the exchange of the rings. So in the scheme of a wedding, this is a pretty important part of the traditional Western ceremony. So we can tell that, again, the hands are supposed to be the focus. Oh, there you go. So let's move on to our next technique, which is framing. Framing can also tell you what the photographer deems important. Professional photographers often compose their pictures using the rule of thirds. So that means that you're basically dividing your photograph into 9 equal squares. On a lot of your cameras, there's a setting that actually does this for you, so it can help you figure out how you want to organize images in your frame. So for an energetic and interesting picture, important elements of the photograph should fall along these lines in the set of 9 and along the power points. These are the intersecting lines within the group of 9. I'm going to show you an image to hopefully make this a little bit more clear. See, so we have 9 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and these lines here, as I said, usually important or dynamic pieces of the photograph are going to fall along these lines, and if you want to emphasize something even more, you're going to have it fall along a power point, which is the intersecting lines here. So that's one aspect of the rule of thirds, is that have important parts of the picture fall along the lines, and even more so fall on those power points. But the rule of thirds also sort of dictates that important aspects of the image should either take up 1/3 of the frame or 2/3 of the frame. So if you take a look at this here, this statue, I would say probably takes up roughly 1/3 of this entire frame. And then this vast expanse here takes up 2/3 of the frame. So again, we can tell that the statue is an important part of the image because he falls along this line here, and important parts of him fall along the power points, but also because he takes up 1/3 of the entire screen. When you're considering framing, sometimes you have to consider what is in the frame and what do you not see left in the frame, because oftentimes what's missing from that frame can tell you just as much about that story as what's inside. So for example, if you were ever going to see an image of a sad-looking child, and there was no parent within the frame of that photo, part of the story that you might be devising within your mind is, well, maybe that child is sad because they're looking for their parent because their parent's not there for them when they need them. So again, that's taking a look at framing, what's in the frame and what's outside of the frame. When we are looking at the technique of framing, another thing that we can consider are the concepts of foreground and background. So foreground are things that are closest to the viewer, closest to the front of the photo, and then background is anything in the back. So sometimes you can make the assumption that things in the foreground are the most important part of the picture. Oftentimes with portrait photography, you'll see that the person in the portrait is nice and crisp and clear in the foreground, and then all of the stuff in the background is a little bit blurry. So that's going to help you see what's an important part of the picture and what's not. So this concludes my presentation. Now we're going to have the opportunity to take these techniques and start applying them to new photographs of our choice. So hopefully this has made sense to you. If not, please feel free to email me as always. Good luck!